Welcome back to another episode of Right Here in Mass. Joining me today is Alex Karsos, the co-founder and president of PickleBOS, Boston's newest home for pickleball, with premier facilities across South Boston and Charlestown, designed to bring players together both on and off the course. Alex, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on, especially because pickleball, as we all know, has been such a big passion for people within Boston and surrounding areas throughout the past few years. So I'm excited to have you talk more about what you're building, why you started it, and all of that fun stuff. But before we get
Yeah,
into that, I'd love to have you introduce yourself and share more about what you do.
awesome. So pickleball is booming. It is the most popular sport right now, not just here, but around the country and globally. It's one of the fastest growing sports as well, too. But I started pickleball actually a couple years ago, because I got into pickleball like a lot of people during COVID. And in the city of Boston, there are not many places to play. And as I was diving into, what I was doing next with my career, I've started a couple different businesses in the past. And one of the things that, intrigued me was like, what can I do with pickleball? It became so much part of my life, passion, playing with it with friends. And the one thing I kept going back to, my wife kept telling me, like, you have nowhere to play. There's just nowhere to go unless you want to really leave the city. There's very few outdoor courts in the city of Boston. So that led me down a path of, starting to look for facilities that, would be perfect spots for indoor pickleball, which have a lot of different requirements. And one of the difficult things with Boston real estate is finding 20-foot ceilings and columns that have enough width to fit a court safely between it. So took a couple of years to find a location, and in that process, we actually found two. So my partners and I decided if we're going to do one, let's do two and cover both ends of the city and really try to encompass and be the home for pickleball, not just in Boston, but the greater Boston area.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned something really interesting there, which is that you decided not to open just one facility, but two right off the gate. And so I'm curious to hear if you found any challenges juggling both opening both of those at once, both in South Boston and Charlestown, or if it was more seamless.
It's definitely not seamless, never is. It was not never our original plan. Like I mentioned, we're actually about a week away from signing our lease in South Boston a little over a year ago, and we got presented with the opportunity in Charlestown from the landlord there. If you had ever asked me where my second location would be, I would have always told you it was the Charlestown, Somerville, Cambridge area would complement South Boston, being highway accessible, close to mass transit, having a lot of corporations nearby, and great residential neighborhoods on both ends of the city. But when we got presented the opportunity, it was just something we couldn't pass on, because we do want to be that home. One thing you see a lot is, there are a lot of groups trying to be the pickleball group nationally. That's not what we're doing. We have a real hyper focus on this regional market, and other clubs that have been successful around the country in doing with growth have done that in a regional aspect because there's so much part of this business model that's revolved around community and building that community from the ground up, which we've done here in Southie. As far as the difficulty of two, it's they have been staggered. We didn't sign our lease in Charlestown until this past summer. We're in the heart and the thick of construction right now. This allowed us to have our grand opening in Southie. And now, really I can focus my time back on the construction in Charlestown with our construction team and our goal is to be open there in February, March. So we're starting to get some of the kinks out, learning on the operational side. We definitely learned a lot on the construction side of things that are making, I wouldn't say a smooth and easy process because construction's never that. But it has helped a lot that we've done it once before and our contracting partners had done it, for us previously for here in Southie.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. It almost sounds like, I mean, of course, there'll be different changes, but it almost sounds like you can mostly replicate the process that you did when opening Southie location.
Yep, and a lot of things will transfer over, not everything, and it's really we know some of the more difficult things we have answers to. Not all the questions not all the answers to all the questions, but as far as programming and the way we want to run operations, it'll be very similar with the look, feel, and experience of pickleball. South Boston and Charlestown will be exactly the same. The layouts might be different, but you'll get that same feel, that same experience, and that same love of the game at both places. I'm sure the programming won't be exactly the same because everything is very hyper focused on the specific community and players. So no two clubs are ever the same, even with some, you look, you know, programming that works here in Boston may not be the same programming you see, not just like in another state or other part of the country, but even 30, 40 minutes down the road, just because of the players that are playing there versus here.
Absolutely. And I love what you mentioned earlier about community and why it's so important to be hyper focused on the local region because of that. And so I'd love to hear more about how PickleBOS has embraced community and how it's so closely integrated into what it does.
First off, South Boston is where I live with my family, so this is very much within my personal community. Not that Charlestown is that far away. It's, either 10 minutes or 45 minutes, how long you get stuck in the tunnel for. But this is my home, Southie. So we really wanted that to translate in what we're doing here is to people know that we are part of this community. You don't have out of town, this is not an out of town group coming in to open this. This is as local as it gets for us. Literally live 5 minutes from the facility here, and my kids go to school here. There's parents from my kids' schools here. There's people within the community, business owners that come here. So it's something we really truly embrace. But the biggest thing that we did to help grow, our pickleball community was actually this summer, our landlord gave us the opportunity to take the space adjacent to us to do a four-court pop-up while we were finishing construction. And that allowed us to get going, get people playing here, run operations, and start building our community, selling founding memberships. We sold over 200 memberships before we even opened, had over
Wow.
3,000 players come through over that 4 month period. And I attribute that to all of our success because of our team being allowed to just learn from the local players what they want in a facility. And they almost felt part of the pickleball family because they were with us during our pop-up stage through the opening. So it was cool to see them being a part of that. And that truly, say, is the number one thing I think maybe is a mistake a lot of clubs do make. They think they can just open and leagues will be full, open plays will be full, there'll be members at the door. It's not, build it and they'll come. It's not one of those things. You actually have to put the time and effort in to build that community. And I was talking about this with our marketing agency the other day, allow doing that pop-up period if you have the opportunity to before you open every club around the country or any business should try to do that to try to establish themselves because it's just not got even in winter months when pickleball is the busiest it's just not going to happen unless you have those things started months prior to that.
Yeah, and I think that was a really great idea to focus on that pop-up piece, and especially impressive to hear that it brought in over 200 members because of it.
Y-
And especially like as you know, I mean, when you have a facility, you have all of this overhead expenses that you have to account for, especially with construction and whatnot. So being able to not only get people to know about the facility as it's being built, but then also bring in some revenue to help offset some of the expenses
yeah,
probably helps too.
it definitely did. Obviously, there's a lot of unforeseen expenses with construction that, we're seeing that actually more in Charlestown, even though we know what we're doing better over there. It just, the beast of that facility versus this one. But allowing us to build that early cash flow was also huge. We're running on very tight margins. We knew exactly what we wanted to raise to do this, and we didn't want to over raise. And that allowed us to start building up. Our landlord would an asterisk to everything, our landlord was generous enough to give us a space for free, but we still invested over 60 grand on courts and different things for this pop-up because we wanted the highest quality temporary courts on the market. A core thing to our model is having one of the best playing conditions, and that was also in a pop-up. So for our pop-up, we wanted the best temporary courts, and now that's translating to our facility of having the best permanent court system, the best lighting, tech video technology on every court. So it's really allowed us to just really focus in on what we want to do and on the operational side too of hiring, staffing, learning the programming of this local market and what players want. It just really truly allowed us to build that up. And, again, the revenue was great. It was not the core focus. The core focus was selling founding memberships because those members were buying into a year membership. You don't need to be a member to play here, but just like commercial gyms, there's a lot of crossover between the two, between the commercial gym world and pickleball, where people that partake in personal training and work with a coach are the most active members in gyms. Members here are the most active with clinics, coaching within the community. There are earlier adopters, so they are the ones that we really wanted here first. And we knew with time we could get everyone else in the doors, but we truly wanted to focus in at the core of our community, which is our founding members.
Definitely. And so I'm curious to hear that, like how you were able to market to and grow your founding member base. Like in addition to the pop-up that you had, if there were any strategies that you found really worked for just being able to bring in those potential members.
Um, we got really smart with digital marketing. We have a great agency that we work with, has worked with over 40 clubs opening around the country. So they know everything there is to know about opening and marketing with pickleball clubs. And what we really focused on was intro programming, players who've actually never touched a paddle before. Within the first month we were open, we graduated over 50 players who have never touched a paddle to today are doing clinics, coaching lessons, and we've had hundreds of people come through that process. And what we learned was, especially in this market, since there's such a lack of true pickleball facilities in the area, there's still so many people in the city of Boston that have never played pickleball before, and we want to be the home for those players. So we don't get me wrong, we've been able to bring in some of the best players around the state coming here. We have certain nights where they come together and play. But I don't want to say it's our bread and butter, but our core focus really truly is on the beginner player, whether it's a kid, an adult, it doesn't matter. It's the first time being introduced to sport. And the biggest thing that we attribute to our success there is awesome coaching. Our head coach,
Mhm.
Carmelo, and every other coach that works for us is creating this wow experience the first time they play pickleball. It's at the end of the day, it's pickleball. It's supposed to be fun. You can take it serious and make it serious, but it's literally called pickleball. Like it's a fun sport to play, and we want people to have that just amazing experience where they're walking away smiling after the first time here. And that's been
Yeah.
probably the most important thing we've done.
Well, because I feel like a great experience, whether it's working with the right coaches and having the right clinics, or even you mentioned just investing in the high quality lighting and courts and whatnot, that's what leads to word of mouth referrals, where it's like people are like, oh my gosh, I went into this amazing pickleball facility. And so that sounds like it just kind of keeps things going from there with traction.
Yeah, and there's two parts to that. One is everyone always says you can't be everything for everyone, but we have the ability to do that. I disagree with that in some sense, and depending on what it is. And with us, we can be that facility for high level players that are looking for the best lighting, the best core material. Technology on the courts is something that is, starting to grow around the country. We're one of the earliest adapters here in Massachusetts to have video replay and live scoring on every single court at both our facilities. We're doing that, which becomes an integral part of it. And even our reservation software, it's all tied into this, effortless experience. You don't want to create an account on this in this product and then this other product. Everything is done through our booking software. You sign up once, everything lives in your app. We have a very active community chat. You can learn about programming, reach out to literally myself or any one of our coaches through the chat feature and talk to them, to walking through our doors, coming out to the court, saving a replay, going right to your app. So it's that experience where we can provide that to any level player, but also we have our programming can be very focused on that beginner player. And with the coaches we have, there's a program and something for every player. Whether you're a beginner, you're trying to your road to becoming like an intermediate player or an advanced player, we have something for everyone. And we have enough courts and enough hours in a day that we can cater to a large array of different groups. Whether it's senior open plays mid morning. After school weekend kids clinic, which is one of the fastest growing areas in pickleball right now, is the youth market. So we truly do want to be able to offer something to everyone because it is that type of sport where a 7-year-old can play it and an 80-year-old and everyone in between, regardless of their athleticism. There's a way to play pickleball.
Yeah, and I think that's what's great is just the accessibility piece of it and making it adaptable to whoever would like to play and enjoy the sport.
Yeah, 100%. And that's truly like part of my story. Like when I first started playing, the first time I played was, at a local place, a friend's birthday. First time I've picked up a paddle racket of any kind since I was probably less than 10. I played baseball all growing up and through college. And since having kids, my time to do things like golf and other things dwindled down. This was something I could be athletic, have fun, be social, have a couple of drinks. And then I started playing with, a local group here in South Boston of old school Southie residents. And I was just a young new kid from Southie, and that they slowly let me into their group. But that led to my love of this. Like I'm super passionate about pickleball. I'm not the best player by any means, but I have a ton of fun playing with my friends, my 8-year-old daughter, or playing with, some of the local guys, who are in their 70s and 80s, where I'm literally laughing the entire time I'm on the court with them.
Yeah,
So there's definitely something for everyone in this sport. And I always encourage anyone who's ever played for it just to give it a try. It is a lot of fun for everyone.
totally. And it sounds like you have at least one co-founder, if not more. And so I'd love to hear more about the process of that, of just having business partners and how that's been able to support you throughout this growth.
Yeah, so being in the startup world my whole life, fundraising and finding the right partners are never the easiest things. This was one of the first ventures I had originally started by myself without going into it with a co-founder. I was like, all right, I need some capital, this very capital intensive for what we're building. We have a premium facility. I didn't want it to look and feel like a warehouse. I started cold outreaching, you know, people in the Boston area that play pickleball, and I started looking where, what they do for a living, and that's how I, you know, blatantly found my co-founder Tom was by seeing what he does for work, see who he was, reached out to him. I was on a court with him within 24 hours. He's my largest financial backer in the business. He's not involved with the day-to-day operations, but is still very much heavily involved with strategy, the big scope of things, and on the fundraising aspect of the business. So, again, great partners. Yeah, we could spend hours talking about like co-founder relationships, but the one key thing that we have that has been key to other businesses, at least for me in the past too, is transparency and honesty. It is as much of a relationship that you could say you have with him that you have with your spouse or anyone else. The foundation of it needs to always be the good, bad, and ugly, through transparency and honesty. And that's allowed us to, get to where we are now, 2.5 years later with the first location open, running through over some speed bumps for the second one, but being able to have that and with my other partners and investors, that transparency has allowed them to trust me with the things that me and my team here every day want to do.
Yeah, that's a really good point that it kind of gives you the space to focus on more of the things that you are really good at and feel really passionate about, and having your business partners being able to focus on the other pieces.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And I'd love to hear anything exciting coming up for PickleBOS in the next year, if there's any new developments that you can talk about or anything that you're working on.
One of the cool things that we're actually doing is there's a group that did this fitness series over the summer in Boston called Ritual. It was an outdoor fitness series at the bar and restaurant right literally next door to us, Park City, where hundreds and hundreds of people would show up on a Saturday morning, do a yoga Pilates class, a body weight workout class by Darren Batista, or any other like big, large instructor from that's got a big following in the city of Boston. And there would be, health and wellness brands, whole plunges and from Sweat House. It was to me, it was one of the coolest things that happened in Boston over the past year. They just did a big thing at SOA about a month ago where over 1,000 people, I think, showed up that morning. So we just announced this week that their winter series is being held at pickleball. So starting in January, there's going to be hundreds of people here on Saturday, every other Saturday morning doing workout classes. Pickleball will have something part of it, but it's going to be a pretty cool scene seeing, somewhere between 300-400 people in here at a time, doing different types of class. It's just very high energy. I think it's just a really cool thing. We're doing our first tournament also in February. And there's a lot of cool things we have in the works, excuse me, over the next few months. The one area we're on a business side that we are focusing on is our event side. We have an amazing event space. We have a beer and wine license. One conscious business decision we did make was not putting a restaurant in the facility. Um, from all the people I know in the restaurant industry that own restaurants, that was one of the first questions they asked me. And when I said no, they said that's the best decision you're going to make. Uh, I don't come from that world, so that was the part of the business I didn't want to get into. And excuse me, and with the margins there and the overhead costs and staffing, it wasn't core to our business, and we knew we could find the best local partners. So, like for here in Southie, we're partnered with the Broadway Restaurant Group, which owns like Fat Baby, Loco, Capo, Park City, all the best spots in the area. They're our food partners. So when people want to have big events here, we go to them to provide the food. And that's honestly, I feel like people would rather want that than, what random food we'd be cooking here, with some random
Yeah.
chef, sort of thing. So we thought it was really important for us to find great partners with things that we didn't want to do in-house. So that's what we've done. And, we started hosting a few hundred-person events over the last month since we've been open. And, that's the big area I think for us in 2026 is the corporate event side, where we could have 300 people in here from a company having a corporate outing or a holiday party, at PickleBOS.
Yeah, I love that. And having been in the startup world for your whole career, I would love to hear any advice you have to give to any of our listeners who might be thinking about starting a business or might be new to owning a business, just from what you've learned along the way.
Um, Talk to other people that have been around it. My biggest thing, excuse me, is reaching out to people within the industry, other people that start businesses, and they've probably gone through similar problems, similar hurdles, similar obstacles, highs and lows. One of the best resources for me was is still to this day is the alumni network of Babson College. So I graduated, it seems like an eternity ago from there, but utilizing the alumni network of Babson, which is obviously a entrepreneurial college, but and a lot of people have gone there, have started, an array of different businesses, whether people I know or don't know. Um, Generally speaking, a lot of people have been open to conversations, and I've seen that also in the pickleball world. Anytime of the last few years, I've been traveling to a different city. I try to meet with owners of clubs and hear about what they're going through, whether I've met them at conferences or just cold outreaching to them. Generally speaking, everyone has time for a coffee.
Mhm.
And really as simple as that, you make some conversation, you get stuff out of, some you don't, but being able to talk to other people that have been in the similar position has been super powerful and helpful for me over the years. It allows you to help figure things out a little quicker. And just using your strengths in the start in this where you can make in the startup and early business world of you can make quick adaptations and changes to your business model, try new things. Don't be afraid to do that and just make quick changes, adapt quick changes, and just you're slightly progressing by just slowly making quick changes and adaptations that bigger companies just won't do. Where we can
Mhm.
make here, we talk about something, we'll put it into motion and get it going and live within a day or two here. And
Yeah.
that's speed is everything. Excuse me. Um, Sorry.
You're fine.
Yep.
Feel free to take a second.
Yep. Okay. Sorry. I'm good.
All good. But yeah, that's a good point that you mentioned about it reminds me of the mentality of like move fast and break things. Not that you want to break things, but it's almost like you kind of want to move quickly to take advantage of what people are looking for, especially getting like member feedback, being able to work that in. I'm sure that's something
Yep.
you do as well.
Yeah. No, it's never going to be perfect. In your eyes, it will, in your own, this is your baby, whatever business you start, it will never be perfect. Never,
Hmm.
never. There's never going to be a point that you're going to be satisfied at 100%. Just get exactly what you said. Just go live with it, get it out there, and just make quick changes and adapt on the fly. And just get it's the same thing. My previous companies, some of them were in the tech world, and when is the product ready to go live with it? When can we get the app live? When can we get our site up? It was never perfect. It was even after it was live and months and years of reiteration. There's always something that you want to change or adapt or make. and because you don't want to be complacent. But the point is, you just got to get it out there, get it in the hands of people, learn what they truly want, because there's only so much educated guesses you can make on your research and your knowledge to go live with something until people are actually using it. You're never going to know, or they're experiencing your business or working with you. You're not going to know how they truly feel. And that's also why the pop up was put, like kind of down that path. We had a 30-day decision to make. Should we do this pop up? And we said yes. And there was so much we learned over that 3.5 month period that, with what our members were looking for, what people wanted on specific nights. And that's something we're still doing every day. People send us messages in the app and say, "Hey, have you thought about doing this type of programming or put something at this hour?" We're like, "Sure, let's try it." We throw it on the calendar and see if people will sign up for it. And then we ask them, like, one of the big things we're working on with programming now, that I'm very bullish on, is cardio pickleball. And we did one of our coaches with another coach did a free trial class last week. We got feedback. We're doing two more tomorrow. And I've never seen so many people walk off the court sweating, laughing, smiling. And, we're just taking quick little feedback from them, what they want in that. And so we can go live with it, next week. And that's going to be a big part of our morning programming moving forward.
Yeah, and I think that's really great to incorporate all these different changes, especially after knowing what people might be looking for or other ways that they can take advantage of their membership, really.
Yeah, and it's again, it's never going to be perfect. We're going to always be adapting. We learned that, we didn't launch, we wanted simple memberships where it's either you pay monthly or yearly and no other changes. Then we realized we have such a large demographic, being here in Boston of a student population and a senior population. So we just went live, a week ago with our student and senior memberships, which again, keeping it simple, it's the same benefits, just different price points for those, two demographics. So it's listening to
Mhm.
your customers, going live with stuff and listening to feedback. You don't have to do everything that is told to you and all the feedback, but if you start hearing things more than a few times, maybe it's something you start, looking into.
Definitely. And a fun question I have for you is what are your favorite local businesses to support?
So my definitely one of my favorites is Dirty Italian in Southie. Uh, Best Italian deli in the area. It's a fan favorite, not just with me, but everyone else here. All the local restaurants, I think we find ourselves going to, Park City in the summers with the kids, or wintertime finding ourselves at Loco or Capo. But, I'd say definitely recently it's been, at least for the team here, it's been Dirty Italian for us.
Yeah, I feel like food is always a good choice.
Yeah, yeah.
Alex, this has been such a fun episode, and I've so enjoyed having you on the show to share what you've been doing with PickleBOS. And I'd love to have you share with our listeners so they can find you online in case they'd like to connect.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ashley. Really appreciate it. Again, you can find us at PickleBoss Club or pickleboss.com.
Amazing. And I'll include those links in the show notes that our listeners can easily find you from there. But thank you again for being a guest on this week's episode.
Thank you. Take care.